Eddy Presley. I'm running for District 9 for the Bossier Parish School Board. Well, I think the one way that we're going to try and enlist their support is just letting them know that the parish is growing at such a dramatic rate that without furthering bond proposals or even trying to introduce new bond proposals, that our schools are going to be fully at capacity in less than a year or two. We've already got 2 schools now that we've already had to add wings onto, and they're less than 4 years old. So it's the growth factor is exponential for us for some reason, and it's something that we are constantly playing catch up for. So trying to get new schools and add on to existing schools is very important. So we're going to be enlisting help from people that don't even have kids or never even had kids, and unfortunately that's, for our area, it's a good problem to have, but it's one that is there's not a quick fix. One way is just showing that we want to build a high quality educational system, and one way that we've been able to do that is implementing policies and procedures that just improve the overall quality, and building a workforce for businesses that want to come here. I just found out yesterday via email that the CSE's breaking ground next week, and they're having an official groundbreaking. So for us to provide them with a quality workforce, we're going to have to build more schools, and we already know that we're going to have to build new schools anyway. Our 10-year projection just came out yesterday, and we're going to review it Tuesday at our committee meeting. But we already know our projections are going to be exponential again. So it's going to be still growth is a problem, but I mean it's a problem you want to have, but it has its own set of little things you got to fix, and it's not a quick fix. It's something that you got to work at every day. The opportunities in my district are the quality of education, just keeping that quality at a high level. My district represents Central Park, Waller, Kerr, Russian, and Bossier High School, and I share Russian and Bossier High School with the 2 other board members in 8 and 7. So the opportunity is just keeping that quality there, getting that parental involvement and keeping it in the schools. The bad problem is people are moving out of the city. Our biggest growth is in north and east, because you can't move west because you can't live on the river. I mean, you can live on the river, but we don't have people living on the river. But our problem is north and east. They're just, Halton and Benton are just growing exponentially again. I mean, some of the information I have is we actually, I heard a news article last week that there's actually a new business that's going to come to downtown Bossier, and it's a brewery, which I thought was kind of cool. I don't drink, but I thought that was kind of a neat business to have. But that's just just those kind of businesses like that, bringing those unique businesses to downtown that want to stay there, and finding people that want to invest in downtown, that want to build it back up or even make it grow. The casinos that's a great problem to have in District 9, because I've got 3 in District 9, or 2 or 3. I mean, there's one right outside my back door. But just getting those businesses that want to invest back in downtown Bossier and really, making it grow. But the problem is people are moving out. There's not, brand new homes being built. So the brand new homes are north in Bossier and Houghton. So that's where everybody's kind of moving to. Um, what we've done well is we are now ranked 8th in the state. We were 10th. And I think that's the teachers and administrators and the students and parents. I think the only thing that we've really done poorly at is really the thing that's really frustrated a lot of the parents is the changing of the technology. We've now had to upgrade our technology again, and we just upgraded it 2 years ago. So the pace of technology is really what I guess is a big hurdle, which is a good problem to have, but it's that every 18 months when you have to upgrade, there's that learning curve that you need to happen, and sometimes that learning curve, we shorten it just so we can get that new technology out there. But just that technology communication, we've got to work a little bit better on it. We're using Illuminate now. School Loop is gone. And there's a learning curve, and so that's kind of our biggest frustration. And then of course, our newest frustration would be transportation. We are currently trying to figure out how to handle the growth. So with growth, you do get unique problems that you don't necessarily get when you have a declining population. We wouldn't have a transportation problem if we were a declining population. Well, one thing I plan on doing that I've done before is I go and visit the schools, talk to the principals, the teachers, find out what they need. Mr. Allred does a great job at assessing the technology needs, and then Mr. Machin and Mr. Smith do an excellent job at evaluating the kind of the overall enrollment aspect of the school, and then the principals do an excellent job at, looking at the overall view of the class sizes and everything, and then all of that gets reported to us. But just really talking to the teachers and the principals and just finding out, what do you need to make it, easier on you? Because unfortunately, Common Core, the implementation of it has been a tough road to handle. But that's one thing that we really have been hearing about is the additional paperwork that comes with Common Core. Not necessarily that it's harder or anything, but it's just that additional paperwork for maintaining your struggling students, but also keeping it competitive for your students that want to be more successful, or they're a little bit ahead. So just visiting with the teachers and principals and just really finding out what they need to make it a little bit easier at the school.
Okay. We're going to ask you a series of teacher performance questions. How should teacher performance be measured?
How should it be measured? Wow, that's a loaded question. And I only say it's loaded because the NEA and the LAE will have different viewpoints on that, along with the LSBA and the NSBA will have different viewpoints on it. But teacher performance, I don't think needs to be solely, based on just the student's performance in the classroom, because you can't gauge the overall success just based on that one student or that one test. You can't gauge a teacher's performance on that. You've got to take everything into account. You've got to take, the overall classroom, the overall grade level, where are they at grade level wise versus where they should be. But teacher performance, it needs to be a collaboration of at least 3 or 4 different things that are evenly weighted, so that teachers aren't, teaching to the test, that when those students leave their classroom, they're actually on grade level or above, so that when they go into that next grade, they're not having to repeat, and that teacher's not having to play catch up. So I think teacher performance, definitely, it's got to be a mix. It can't just be, my kids all scored, satisfactory or, high on this test. Oh, so you're a great teacher. And that's Common Core is trying to pull us away from that, but it's not easy because they're still struggling with it. Well, some of the problems is, I guess, the timing and scheduling of the evaluations. I know that principals, the way that it goes now, they have to do a pre and a post, and just the constant interruptions in the classroom can disturb your overall classroom settings for the students. But I just think one big problem is that timing and scheduling, so that you can accurately evaluate that teacher's performance. And I'm not against giving principals the option of doing a monthly review and then compiling all that to make your pre and post evaluation. Because unfortunately, I know that some evaluations are going to get pencil whipped, which is just horrible, but that happens in every single industry. Their training needs to be extensive, especially with Common Core. There needs to be, I mean, it basically, our principals, and they do get training, but I think training on an evaluator's level, training on how do you properly, objectively evaluate somebody. Because right now, most of your evaluations are subjective. And that's one thing me and my wife argue about. She's a teacher. But they do get subjective very quickly. And that's really not fair to the teacher, because if you have a teacher that's having a great day, but then you come back at the next evaluation, she's having a horrible day, well, how can you accurately compare those two evaluations? She could have been having a great day, but then you come back at the mid-year and she's already got 5 or 6 extra kids that she didn't have before because of growth, and that does happen quite regularly. My wife started out with 22 kids, and now she's got 28, and it's only 4 weeks in. But I think that you got to accurately evaluate the teachers, and they don't. It needs to be more of an objective approach. I mean, I would love to have an outside evaluation firm come in and really thoroughly show us how to properly do that, but unfortunately then you get into cost and all the extra stuff. So, but I think the training needs to be really extensive, and they need to be trained how you evaluate somebody, not go in the classroom and I follow this rubric of steps. Well, that's great. Well, how are you supposed to evaluate somebody on their job? How can I step out of this role and be an evaluator and evaluate this person objectively? So. That's a loaded question too, because we argue about that at the Louisiana School Boards Conference all the time, how to effectively do accountability with the evaluation. It's gonna be a mix, a group of different things. You're gonna have to look at the evaluation. You're gonna have to look at your standards. you're going to have to figure out and evaluate all of those component pieces to see, is that teacher effectively, using the standards in the classroom? And then, what do I do for this teacher who teaches in a Title I school versus the teacher who teaches in a more, affluent, or, a school where the student, free and reduced lunch is 0, but I've got a teacher over here who has 99% free and reduced lunch and no parental involvement. So it's going to be a mix, and it has to be objectively. I mean, accountability and evaluations, they've got to keep it objectively. You can't sit there and judge somebody based on just that classroom, because every classroom is going to be different. I mean, they're literally, at my wife's school, every single classroom is different because there's just a large mix of students. You could have one teacher who, all the kids in the classroom are free and reduced lunch, but then the classroom next door to it, half of them are. So it's just that mix. You've got to be able to use all the component pieces, and it needs to be objectively. It really does. And right now, unfortunately, it's very subjective, and it gets that way very quickly. And that's just I don't know really how you would properly fix that without, going back and looking at that first step of how you efficiently or effectively evaluate somebody. How do you start that out to where it doesn't start going so subjectively? So. Not necessarily, just because what we've learned through the LSBA is the charter style lends you more towards the profit. It's all done for profit. They answer to a corporate governance structure that I don't necessarily agree with, because unfortunately that's the reason charter schools are becoming so prevalent, is someone figured out real quick how to make money at education, which is not good. My factors are it's a mix of a lot of things. It's the viewpoint from the teachers, it's the viewpoint from the parents, the principals, even the students, because at the high school level, I really prefer to talk to the students. Really, I like to talk to them first, and really, what are your experiences right now in high school, and then talk to the teachers. What are the struggles that you're dealing with? But it's going to be a mix of the students, teachers, parents, just that whole group to really make an effective decision, because right now there's so many different variables in play, even for transportation. I mean, you've got the student's perspective. They don't want to sit on the bus for an extra 25 minutes. We want to keep the kids safe. You don't want to drop them off at a street corner. But it's just the different perspectives. We have to take them all into account when we make a decision. And I think to do that, you've got to listen to everybody's viewpoint and then make your decision from there. I like to try to bring everybody to the table. When it comes to Barksdale Air Force Base, I like to bring all of the administrative, the high-ranking staff to the table, and my viewpoint on Barksdale is it's always open for me. I'm willing to meet with them anytime, because they're going to have unique, concerns that nobody else is going to have. But then outside, at the community level or the civilian level, I really like to try to partner with the other groups like we partner with, the police jury, we'll partner with the city council. So the different, intergovernment, groups we like to partner with and bring them to the table to find out how to, how can we, fix these problems and stuff. So I like to try to bring as many people to the table as possible and to make, the right decisions and stuff. Yes, yes, I do. Common Core is Common Core is definitely a giant leap from No Child Left Behind. I'm not going to tell you a joke about No Child Left Behind because it's not nice. Um, but it's a funny joke. But Common Core is definitely it puts you in a the methodology basically behind Common Core is you start out all at the same level, but it gives you the latitude of your struggling students. It gives you the latitude to work with them, but it also gives you that latitude for those higher students to keep them moving forward. It doesn't keep everybody behind so that you all move progressively at the same rate. It gives you that latitude to where you can all move and make it to that next level. So, yeah, the national standards, certainly. I mean, that's, I would love to see us ranked at a national level. Um, not, I mean, just help us out with the growth. That's really the biggest thing. I mean, that growth factor right now is really going to be our biggest struggle even for the next 4 years. So our 10-year study comes out. I mean, it's already out. We're reviewing it right now. We're going to discuss it in an open meeting on Tuesday. But that growth factor, how can we not stay ahead of it because we're still playing catch up, but how can we stay on track with that growth factor so that we don't end up, so far behind that we can't catch up and that our schools are just completely overcrowded. I think that, we're doing things right now to help really, stay on top of it, but the growth factor I think is something that we're going to deal with for at least another 5, 6, 7 years, and I think it's going to be something, and it's good. I mean, it's great for Bossier, but that growth factor, we've got to try and stay ahead of it and just stay on top of it so that it doesn't get just so out of hand that all we're doing is just, building schools to move the 500 kids to it. So